This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Big news in Trump land today. A federal judge has spoken with his mouth and written in an opinion that the January 6th committee evidence does indeed point to the fact that Donald Trump asked his rally crowd to break the law. Big news. Federal judge. I'm going to read this political headline. Judge, January 6th committee evidence suggests Donald Trump asked rally crowd to break the law. The federal ruling is the first to reckon with the select committee's final report and criminal referrals. You see, one of the defense mechanisms or the defense strategies of these insurrectionists is to say, oh, well, we were just doing what we were told. We believed Donald Trump was giving us a free pass to go into the Capitol. He was issuing a directive to us as commander-in-chief. And they followed it. Now, these tactics have been unsuccessful, especially in this particular case with this judge. This defendant was found guilty on all counts. We are seeing defendants be charged with seditious conspiracy and found guilty of seditious conspiracy. The January 6th Select Committee's finding that Donald Trump lured followers to storm the Capitol does not absolve them of legal responsibility for their actions, a federal judge ruled Wednesday. The first opinion to cite the congressional panel's criminal referrals of the former president. U.S. District Court Judge John Bates cited the Select Committee's report and criminal referrals to swat down a January 6 defendant's claim that he believed Trump had authorized him and other rioters to enter the Capitol when he urged the crowd to march down Pennsylvania Avenue. Bates, a Republican appointee, ruled that defendant Alexander Shepard should be prohibited from making the public authority defense because there's simply no evidence Trump told his followers that entering the restricted grounds of the Capitol on January 6, 2021 was legal. In fact, he continues, his incendiary rhetoric, especially telling his supporters to fight like hell, may suggest Trump was asking them to break the law, Bates said. Look, we witnessed what took place. We've watched replays of videos of Donald Trump and the speakers that came before him talking about trial by combat and kicking ass and taking names. This is the rhetoric that was used. Yes, Donald Trump said, do it peacefully and patriotically or whatever, one time. But that doesn't absolve you of whipping the mob, the armed mob of insurrectionists, into a frenzy and dispatching them to the Capitol. You don't get a pass because one time you said, oh, and by the way, do it peacefully and patriotically. His words, quote from the judge here, could signal to protesters that entering the Capitol and stopping the certification would be unlawful, Bates found. Bates' ruling is the first to reckon with the Select Committee's finding that Trump violated at least 4 federal laws in his crusade to subvert the 2020 election. And it is an early window into how the judiciary might interpret the unusual findings of criminal violations by a congressional committee. All this coming from a Republican-appointed judge. This isn't some Obama appointee or Biden appointee or Clinton before that. This is a George W. Bush conservative Republican appointee. A slew of January 6 defendants have sought to argue that Trump somehow blessed their decision to breach the Capitol, saying they were misled into believing their actions were legal. Though Trump has no power to permit others to violate federal laws, sadly for the insurrectionists, that is the case. Many in the crowd might have viewed his instructions as legal permission, they've argued. Those defenses, as I mentioned earlier, have largely failed in court, and the one jury to hear that claim in the case of Dustin Thompson rejected it, finding Thompson guilty on all charges. Bates noted that the Select Committee's findings might, on the surface, lend credence to the notion that Trump had somehow sought to give supporters permission to go to the Capitol. The panel, he said, cited Trump's January 6 speech as a triggering moment for the attack on the Capitol, quoting the report's finding that Trump summoned a mob to Washington and, knowing that they were angry and armed, instructed them to march to the Capitol. And this this last two brief, or we could even just consider it one paragraph because it ends with a quote, is very telling here. But the committee's finding, Bates ruled, does not suggest that Trump told his followers that entering the Capitol would be legal. In fact, Trump's incendiary rhetoric might have done just the opposite. Quote, thus, the conclusions reached here that even if protesters believed they were following orders, they were not misled about the legality of their actions, is consistent with the Select Committee's findings. So he's saying here that, yeah, they were dispatched, and no, they weren't under any impression from Donald Trump that what they were doing was legal. That he did instruct them to go. He incited them to go. He wanted them to go. And yes, he and they knew what they were doing was illegal. Huge coming from a federal judge, especially a conservative one. All of this is a precursor of what is to come in the coming months related to the investigation of Donald Trump. What do you think? I would love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. I appreciate you very much. Follow me on social media. I am at Dollemore on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you appreciate what I do, if I provide you value worth $2 a month, you can become a channel member, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Or you can buy some merch. That is at dollemore.info. Or just search Dollemore Teespring and you'll find the shop. I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.